Yo everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a review on the brand new Norvina eyeshadow palette from Anastasia Beverly Hills. For those of you that don't know who Norvina is, she is the daughter of Anastasia Beverly Hills. Her actual name is Claudia, but she goes by the name Norvina. I'm not sure about the history of that. I'm sure she mentioned it once ages ago, but I've forgotten what it was. However, this is what it is called. Norvina is known for loving this kind of shade. She often has purple hair. She often wears quite a lot of purple because she's got very cool undertones to her skin. So this eyeshadow palette is definitely geared towards her kind of colouring in terms of undertone, not necessarily skin tone. So people that love cool tone shades in particular will really love this palette. Now I know she's been working on this for quite a while, and this is the autumn fall release. As you guys know, when it is the summer, autumn, fall stuff starts to come out because brands, fashion brands, makeup brands tend to work seasons ahead so that we're prepared for when that season comes. So this eyeshadow palette retails at a whopping £43, but that is the standard price of Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadow palettes from their UK website and how much they charge in the UK. And I bought mine direct from the Anastasia Beverly Hills UK website, and I've had it a couple of days now and I've used it quite a few times. Now I will show you swatches in a minute, so I just wanted to let you guys see. First off, it has this standard suede type of packaging, which I absolutely hate. Mine's already got dirt all over it, as in other bits of eyeshadow, and generally I don't find that these stay clean. Aesthetically they look great. From a packaging point of view and a practical point of view, I would definitely say that they're not so great. They're always made of this cardboard, which I just don't find durable enough. Some of my older palettes have started to split at the ends because it is cardboard at the end of the day. It's just thick paper. And then in terms of the actual suede, they get dirty very quickly. Dust attracts to them, and anything and any powder and stuff will come and sit on it. Already I've had to brush it off a few times. The colour itself is absolutely gorgeous. I love it. I am actually wearing this on my eyes today, and I have filmed this makeup tutorial for you guys too, but the review will hopefully go up first. So let me just read what it says from their website. It says, an essential 14 shade eyeshadow palette featuring Norvina's go-to shades ranging from bold and bright mattes to soft pastel shimmers. Full pigment, easy to blend formula, duochrome and metallic pigments, luxe packaging including a large mirror and a double-ended brush. So this is the brush that they normally give us. It's got a fluffy brush on one end and then like a flat packing on kind of brush. I actually find their brushes that they supply in the palettes to be pretty good quality. Surprising, because most eyeshadow palettes that come with brushes are generally quite poor in quality. So Anastasia Beverly Hills gets a tick for that one. Like they said, they've got a decent sized mirror on the front as well. So like they said, altogether there are 14 shades. Along the top row, the first 7 are all a mix of duochrome and metallics, and then along the bottom there are 7 mattes. I love that about this palette. I love the fact that there is an equal mix of shimmery metallic sort of shades and then 7 matte shades as well, which means that any kind of look can be created. I hate it when eyeshadow palettes have like 1 matte shade or 2 matte shades and then another 12 metallic. It means you will generally finish your matte shades first, and then a lot of the other shades will just kind of be ignored when you then move on to other eyeshadow palettes. So before I show you swatches and let you know what my thoughts are of each individual shade, I have to say that personally I will give this palette a 9 out of 10. And the reason I don't give it a full 10 is firstly, obviously, like I've said, because I'm really over this whole suede kind of packaging. It's annoying to me because I have only recently got it that there's dirt on the end of it. It's bloody eyeshadow from the actual palette has managed to get itself on the front and you can't clean it off. Now I have to say, in terms of the shimmery shades at the top, I noticed a very different quality in terms of the metallic shades and the duochrome shades. The metallic shades are excellent. The pigmentation is so rich and so intense that a little bit goes a really long way. The duochrome shades are not as pigmented, not as intense as the metallic shades. That is obviously because they are a different texture. However, I would have hoped that one would kind of go with the other. So certain shades I will have to layer them upon layer them upon layer them, and other shades I'll have to go in with a really light hand. Now the ones out of this palette which are duochrome is Wild Child, Celestial, Dazzling and Drama. And I noticed quite quickly that the other shades, which is Dreamer, Summer and Rose Gold, those shades are so intense. I'm actually wearing the shade Rose Gold on my lid so you guys can see. Now, another criticism that I have, and again, this applies to all the metallic shades along the top, they are so buttery to the point where if you press your brush a little bit too hard, it'll come off in chunks. This shade here, which I've got Wild Child, which you will see a close-up of in a minute, has already got quite a hefty dent in it. I've used it twice. As in for two different looks, not once, twice. I've used it for two different looks. It's already got a dent in it. The way that I managed to get this dirty on the front is because Rose Gold flicked off and landed on the front of the palette. Don't ask me how it managed to do that kind of gymnastics, but it managed to do it somehow, and that's how it ended up at the front. My brush, when I press it into it, pieces of the actual eyeshadow come out and they land in other places, including on your face. I also don't find that the brush picks up enough product because it is so buttery, it refuses to stick to a brush. And I've used various different types of flat shading brushes to do that. When I did this eye makeup look today, I actually used my finger to apply Rose Gold. And because it's your finger, it's obviously not the same as a brush, picked up so much product, and I wiped it across my eye and it was so intense. Then I just used a brush to blend around the edges. Now, I know that has been an issue with other Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadows in the past, and it's exactly the same again. Because they are so intense, because they are so pigmented, and because they are so buttery, a little bit goes a really long way, but you have to be careful in how you apply it. Do not press too hard with your brush, otherwise you will find bits of it coming off that you don't want to come off, basically. And then in terms of the matte, again, they are similar to other eyeshadow palettes of Anastasia Beverly Hills in terms of you have to apply pressure with a fluffy brush very gently, because there is a lot of kick up, there is a lot of dust that comes out, but that is bearing in mind that these are not normal eyeshadows, they are actually pressed pigments. So that is why the color intensity is so strong, because they are pigments rather than normal powder eyeshadows. So the same way you have done previously with other Anastasia Beverly Hills palettes, you have to do the same with these. A little bit goes a really long way, and every single one of these is incredibly pigmented, gorgeous in texture as well. I definitely say that these mattes are beautiful. So that is the reason why I'm giving this palette a 9 out of 10, which I would personally say is still a very high mark considering the few criticisms that I do have of this palette. Now, in terms of the actual shade range itself, it is majority cool toned. There's maybe one or two slightly warm shades in here, like this color, Eccentric, and oh, that's about it really. The rest are all very cool tones. This color here is Summer, gorgeous. It's a lovely golden shade, but this is a very cool tone palette, but that's because it's supposed to be, because it's meant to be geared around Norvina's kind of shades of loving purples and that sort of thing. Is this a palette that will work for everybody? I would definitely say yes. In terms of the metallic shades along the top, they will work well with all skin tones. In terms of the shades at the bottom, because they're so pigmented, I would say that even if you've got very deep skin tone, the best thing to do would be to apply a white primer over your eyes, or a white eyeshadow or a white base, and that way you will get the colours to show up a lot more rich on your skin. Because a shade such as Soul, and if you've got very deep skin, you may find that your skin colour eats up the colour and it kind of looks a bit grey. So I would always personally suggest wearing a base. I use the P. Louise base on my eyes, which gives it a slight white cover over it, and then colours can appear a lot more vibrant on your skin. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show it to you up close and give you my thoughts on each individual shade. That way you can see what I mean as well when I talk about the difference in texture and pigmentation in terms of the duochrome and the metallic shades along the top. So this is what the palette looks like. As you can see, dirt everywhere. So this is the cover, and then you open it up and here is the palette inside. Ooh, very pretty. And this is the brush that you get with it. As you can see, it's a very nice little brush, fluffy brush on that end, and a flat brush on the other side. This is the first shade here called Dreamer, and this is a beautiful metallic pink champagne color, And this is amazing to use on the lid, on the brow bone, and on the tear duct. This next shade here is called Summer. This one is another absolutely stunning foiled metallic golden colour. This shade is called Wild Child. Now this is one of the duochrome shades. Can you see how much more sheer it is compared to the other metallic ones? Because you can still see my skin through it. So this kind of shade requires a lot of layering. And this is a lovely frosty pink colour. And if you move it around in the light, you can see bits of magenta. This shade here is called Rose Gold. This is another metallic shade. Look how intense and buttery that is. It's absolutely gorgeous rose gold shade. This shade is called Celestial. This is another one of the duochrome shades. Unfortunately, it's quite sheer, and I'm not sure if you can see on camera. Can you see lumps in there? As I said, it comes off in chunks, all of these metallic shimmery shades, so you've got to be very careful. But this is a lovely plum violet shade. This shade is called Dazzling, and that's this shade right here. Another gorgeous, richly pigmented and very intense metallic shade. It's a bronzy shade, but it's got flecks of violet in it depending on how the light hits it. And then last on the top row is this one here called Drama. And that is that shade here at the top, the dark shade. This is another one of the duochrome shades. It's probably the most pigmented of the lot. That's probably just because it's a deeper shade, I would guess. And this is like an aubergine shade with bits of bronze flecked into it. So these are all the metallic shades, and I'm going to show you the matte shades along the bottom row. So this first shade here is called Base. And this is a beautifully pigmented kind of beige matte shade. Great to use all over the eyes to neutralize the lid, which is how I use it, or to blend out darker shades. This shade is called Soul. This is a very unique shade. It looks very similar to the shade which is on the front of the palette. It's described as a matte wisteria shade. I do have to say, out of all the matte shades though, this one is quite gritty. Can you see little lumps in it? That's because it's quite gritty. I'm not sure why. It's the only one that's like that, but it performs really well. It's very, very pigmented, very easy to blend, and a very gorgeous, unique shade. This shade is called Incense. Gorgeous, matte, brown, caramel brown sort of shade. Great for transitional shades or your everyday kind of looks. This shade is called Love. This is definitely one of my favourite matte shades, mostly because of the colour. It's so unique. It's not something that everybody tends to use on their eyes, but I think it's gorgeous. It's very intensely pigmented. A little bit goes a really, really long way. It's a beautiful, cool toned, mid-toned, yellowy pink shade. This shade is called Volatile. And this is a matte charcoal brown, cool toned shade. Intensely pigmented and buttery and soft. This shade is called Eccentric. Absolutely beautiful, matte burnt orange shade, easy to blend, intensely pigmented. Absolutely love it. It's that shade there. And then last but not least, the shade on the end is called Passion, and that's this shade over here. Intensely pigmented, matte burgundy brown sort of colour. It's gorgeous, gorgeous, easy to blend. I'm using it on my eyes today. So that's it for this palette, but I just wanted to draw your guys' attention to the top row. Can you see all the indents in them? I barely used this palette. So I just wanted to kind of reiterate that whole fact that those are going to be finished quite quickly because of the fact that they kind of come off quite a bit and flake off into other places. So that is it for my swatches and my review of the Anastasia Beverly Hills Norvina palette. What do you guys think? Are you going to buy it? Are you not going to buy it? I think it's a beautiful palette. Once you get past one or two of the shades not being as great performing as you would hope for them to be, i.e. the duochrome shades, I think the majority of the shades do make up for the fact that those ones aren't so good. So personally, I think it's a great little palette. I'm going to get a lot of use out of it. You can come out with daytime looks, nighttime looks, work appropriate looks, school, college appropriate kind of looks, your nighttime kind of sexy smoked out sort of looks as well. I like the fact that there's no black in it, but rather there's one or two deeper shades to really kind of smoke out any kind of look that you might want for the autumn winter season. I think it's a little bit different as well for your typical autumn winter sort of palette, so I am quite happy with this. So that's it. So what do you guys think? Are you going to get your hands on it? Are you thinking about it? You're not sure? You prefer your other ones? I mean, I still love the Soft Glam one, and the Modern Renaissance ones are two of my favourite palettes, and they still are to this day. Soft Glam one I use a lot more than I thought I would, and I think I speak on behalf of a lot of people that say that is still one of their favourite palettes, just because it's so wearable, so universally wearable as well. So what else on my lips today? I'm actually wearing a magenta liquid lipstick, and I'm using the Dream Glow Kit. I patted it on top. I've patted on the shade Unicorn just to create this look. So yes, I hope you guys are wonderful and great, and you enjoyed and found this review useful and helpful. If you've got any comments or questions about the palette, let me know below. Other than that, I hope you guys are wonderful and great, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.